Okay, this may be a short video. I'm starting recording fairly late tonight for me anyways. So, I might just make it through the M's here and call it quits, but we'll see. The first question from the M's is from Master Hiatus. Hey Plump, maybe a kind of offbeat question, but I've always been interested in the things you choose to highlight in your Perspective Matters playlist. I guess my question is, what are your thoughts about what dignifies us as people, and what kind of responsibilities we have towards one another? How do you think modern institutions are handling these concerns? Feel free to interpret this question loosely. You said this question would be my only shot. Well, I choose to put the propaganda that I agree with in my Perspective Matters playlist. Just worldviews and opinions that I think have been exceptionally well expressed that I agree with. Generally opinions that I agree with where I feel that someone has expressed them far better than I will ever be able to. Because, well, I'm not exactly the most clear person in the world whenever it comes to explaining things. I tend to, if you've noticed throughout these Q&As, once I'm actually having to explain things and not just in story mode, I tend to say and a lot. I tend to ramble and repeat myself. So I choose to put things in the Perspective Matters playlist, generally my viewpoints. If you want to know my worldviews, go watch the Perspective Matters playlist. That's my own brand of propaganda. There's propaganda all over the place, of course. Pretty much anyone who tries to explain their viewpoint is giving propaganda, in my opinion. CNN has their own form of propaganda. Fox News has their own form of propaganda. There's really not that many places to go these days where an agenda isn't being pushed. So that's my agenda. That's my opinions and my worldviews, I guess. And I just tend to put videos in there that express different views. Generally, almost always views that I agree with, but also sometimes, well, okay, it's not always views that I completely believe and agree with. There are some videos in there where I think that they just provide an interesting alternative view to the established story, I guess you could say, of how certain events have happened. Because there's always at least two sides to every story, but there's generally way more than that. So sometimes I feel if an issue hasn't been properly addressed in the mainstream, sometimes I will put a Perspective Matters video update in the Perspective Matters playlist, just to maybe make people think outside of the box, outside of the accepted narrative, because history is a funny thing. The history that we're taught and the history that we're told about, it's not always completely true. And that's kind of one of the sucky things about history. It's written by the victors. And the more often that a narrative or story is repeated and told, the more likely it is to be accepted. So occasionally I put alternate narratives in there just to kind of expand on things, maybe make people see things a little bit differently. I don't know how many people actually go through that playlist. I assume that most people don't actually want to listen to stuff like that, and as much as it sucks, I can't say I blame them, because, again, I completely admit and agree that it's just another form of propaganda in a world that is completely filled with people wrestling for the narrative and trying to write history out. As for what dignifies us as people and what kind of responsibilities we have, well, I'm one of those sappy suckers who thinks that we should all just get along, even though deep down I know that that'll never happen. Humanity is meant to be at conflict with each other. We just we're not happy, in my opinion. I mean, we're not happy in peace. People always want to find something to argue about. So I think our responsibilities are be nice to those people that you can. Try not to kick people when they're down. Treat each other with kindness. Pick each other up. If you see somebody struggling and they need help, don't be the asshole that walks up and steps on somebody's fingers whenever they're just dangling there, and then laugh as they fall to their doom or whatever. Obviously that's, painting a pretty gross picture, but it's not always that graphic. But just take care of each other, care about the people around you, and just hope that people pass it on and things kind of spread from there. Next question is by Med Moon, or Mead Moon. Have you ever played Sharon the Wanderer? No, I haven't, but I've had several people ask me about the game, so as soon as I get more free time, as soon as I'm probably, well, I can't say for sure when, but I would like to look up the game and maybe check it out, because I've had several people ask me about it, so there's got to be something to it. Who knows? Maybe I'll do a video on it someday. But again, I'm not making any promises. I'm just saying I'll look at the game someday, because I've had enough people ask me about it, that there might be something to it. The next question is by Musketman12. Will you do some more Arma or Arma 2? At this point, no. I don't feel the game runs comfortably enough on my computer anymore to play the mods and the missions that I really want to play. So until I upgrade my computer, no, I will not be doing any more Arma 2. And even if I do upgrade my computer, there's no guarantee that I will do more Arma. It's just one of those things that I really have to be in the mood for, because it's one of those games that you can play for hours on end, and you can have a lot of fun doing absolutely nothing, but that doesn't always make for a good experience to record. I do think that my Dynamic War videos that I recorded, I think that those turned out extremely interesting. There was almost no footage that I had to throw away while recording the Dynamic War series, and that can't always be said for every Arma mission that I've tried to play. Some missions that I've loaded I ended up recording several hours of, and I just threw the footage away because nothing ever happened. So I don't know if I'll ever get back to those games. Right now, they just don't run smooth enough, so I'm not going to bother recording them. Next question is by Mo Fleeker. How does it feel to be cast away into the back row of YouTube while people with half your level of personality and talent monetize their commentaries of bland games? That's just how it is, man. We all have a place, and we all make a bed, and we all lie in it, and I'm happy with where I'm at right now. So, I don't know, it feels good. I like the community that I've got. I wouldn't trade you guys for much. I'd trade you guys for a little bit, but so far it hasn't been offered to me, so for now I'm happy with where I'm at, and I don't care about those people because they're not a part of my community, and I don't have to worry about them, so they do their thing, and I'll do my thing. Next question is by Metal Slime Hunt. If you were living in the Antarctic substation, where the events of the thing took place, and you gained possession of the only flamethrower in the base, after the things have killed and assimilated 2 people, what would you do with the other 6 survivors? The question assumes that there is most likely at least 1 human and 1 thing among the 6. Well, thankfully I've been well trained in this. I would try to do a blood test. Anybody who refused the blood test would be roasted alive, and if things got too out of hand, I guess I would have to take, drastic measures and just nuke the base if possible, because it's better that 6 people should die, 7 people including me, I guess. It's better that everyone at the substation should die than the thing get out and assimilate itself into the entire population of the planet. So that would be a tough decision, but man, you gotta think about the bigger picture sometimes, I guess. As horrible as much as I hate that saying. Let's see, next question is by Mr. Maligner. Dear Plump, do you miss the style, roleplay, and unique class skill system of the Matrix Online? Most sincerely, Malinger. I never played that game because from everything that I heard about it, it wasn't that good, and I was not very interested in paying a monthly fee for another substandard MMO that didn't do anything. The 2 MMOs that I've enjoyed the most were Ultima Online, for many, many reasons. One being that it was basically my first MMO. The second being that it was a huge sandbox world, and it didn't have item grinding. Yeah, you had to level up your skills through repeated use, but whenever you died in Ultima Online, you lost everything on you. Your sword, your magic items, everything. But the great thing about Ultima Online was that items really were completely replaceable. If you died, you didn't really lose anything of value, so Ultima Online was not an item whore game like MMOs are now. It was not a game really designed about stringing people along, forcing them to grind for more gear. It was a community-based game where the people are what made the game fun, not the theme park-styled encounters with raid bosses and the trinkets that you could earn through those battles. It was the community that made Ultima Online. And the second MMO that I really liked was EverQuest, because that was the first item-based horror game that I played, and it was exceptionally hard. I mean, if you died in that game, you had a chance of losing every item on you, because whenever you died, all of the items that you had on you stayed on your corpse. And if you didn't get your corpse in something like, I think 8 days or 7 days, your corpse would disappear. And all of your items would vanish as well. So it was very punishing, not to mention when you died, you lost a huge chunk of experience, and you could easily lose anywhere between 6 hours of grinding to 12 hours of grinding. So it was a completely different play style, because people who, I guess I'll just say people who sucked, people who couldn't hack it, generally didn't make it very far, and this made the encounters and the groups in the game fairly rewarding for me, because whenever you got a group that really clicked, the group would stay together for quite some time, and people would just have a lot of fun. You would get to know people, because you would be spending anywhere between 2 to 6 hours grouped up with these people, if the group was good enough. And so people would tell their life stories, and we'd have chats and everything. And I just haven't found that sense of community in an MMO sense, because MMOs have just made things really easy. There's almost no punishment for death. So people come and go. They don't care if they make a difference. They don't care if they get a bad name, because there's no punishment. There's no risk in current MMOs at all. And that wasn't the same for EverQuest. If you played long enough, you would get a name. People kept lists, and they would look for, are you a good tank? Well, if you were a good tank, you could log on at any time and find a group that would want you. If you sucked, you would probably eventually just stop playing, because for the most part, people wouldn't group up with you, and it was just a completely different experience. There was no such thing really as looking for groups, group finding systems. It was all by word of mouth, and people who knew people, and you would have to travel around to the different zones looking for people who might need your services. It created a sense of community that does not exist in current MMOs. Current MMOs are catered around the guild, and if you're not in a guild, if you try to go, I guess, solo, it seems like, you can just forget it, because there's not going to be room for you. There's not going to be a place for you, really, unless you want to do a pug group or something. But even in current MMOs, pug groups are fine, because, again, there's no real challenge, from my experience. It's just a completely different environment. Not really what you asked, but there you go. I never played The Matrix Online, so I don't know. Next question is by Mustachio101. I'm not sure if this has been answered before, and I'm sorry if it has, but have you ever thought of becoming a writer? From what I've gathered from the story you've started creating for your RPG Maker game, and how you'll add your own little bits of dialogue or give a character a backstory, you're talented at creating stories and characters. And if you've already written your own stories, would you share them? I've already mentioned I have little bits and nuggets of stories hidden away all over the place on my computer and at home. I've got several short stories that I've wrote that I'll never share because they're crap, in my opinion. Maybe someday I'll share them. That'll be a pretty long ways away, though, something to laugh at. I thought about being a writer, but at the same time, I generally don't think I'm good enough to be a book writer. It takes a different kind of writer to write books, because in a book you have to describe and write a whole lot more information about the world and characters and events and the details than you do in, say, the game I'm making, Fall of Atlantis. It's just a different skill set. In Fall of Atlantis, I don't have to sit there and write out what the character looks like. I can find a character sprite and put that in the game. I don't have to write out all of the little details in every room that you enter, because I can handcraft those rooms with graphics so that you see them with your eyes. And the fun part for me in Fall of Atlantis is writing out the character dialogue and coming up with the storyline and plot, things like that. But if I had to sit down and write it out word for word in a book form, I wouldn't be able to do it, because it's a completely different skill that I don't really think I'm very good at. So I thought about becoming a writer, then I realized that I suck at it, in my opinion, and I'm hoping that this RPG thing will actually be someplace that I can really begin to express my ideas with, and my story bits with. So we'll see how it all turns out. I think that the Runes of DC and Tales from the Mojave have turned out fairly well. Of course, that was me telling a story over assets that other people have already created. So even then, a huge chunk of the work was more or less done for me, and all I had to do was just kind of piece things together over the top of it. So we'll see. I'll let you guys be the judge once Fall of Atlantis is done, about how good of a storyteller and writer I actually am, because for the most part, up to this point, I've just been working with other people's assets, and I haven't really released anything of my own out there. Even though I'd say the Dwarf Fortress storytelling that I do is probably the closest to pure storytelling, because that game does give you a lot of information and assets to work with, but at the same time, I have to come up with a lot of it on my own too, so we'll see. Time will tell. Next question is by Master Fancy Pants. Plump, you seem to really like the Fallout series, but you said you would not do an LP of Skyrim. Do you have a problem with the Elder Scrolls series? I didn't say I would never do a LP of Skyrim. I don't think I did. I said I'm not doing an LP of Skyrim, which at this point I'm not. I've not recorded any videos or done anything like that, so it's not something that I've done. I don't have a problem with the Elder Scrolls series, except for the things that I explained, I think, in the last video. You know, the level-based scaling of the monsters, the way you can easily screw yourself over with skills if you don't pay close attention to your combat skills as you're leveling up, different things like that. There's more problems I do have with the Elder Scrolls games, but almost all of it boils down to things that can be fixed with mods. As for the lore and the story of the Elder Scrolls series, I think the lore is absolutely amazing. I just wish that the quests in the story, the main quests basically, that they send the player on were better than they are. Because they have all this amazing lore that they've wrote and worked with, but it doesn't seem like the games really capture it, in my opinion. It doesn't seem like they take full advantage of it. I just don't... There's a disconnect between the lore that you can read in the books and the quests and the adventures that you go on in the game. There's just some disconnect there. That's my problem. That's another one of my problems with the Elder Scrolls games. They have all the lore, but they don't really, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, they don't do a good job of connecting the player with that lore. It's there for you to read. It's in the books scattered throughout the game. But as far as, actually feeling like I'm connected to it, I haven't had that feeling yet. Even Oblivion didn't really do that for me. So, yeah, that's my problem with the Elder Scrolls. Next question is by Mr. Wolfman 109. Do you believe in some sort of religion, or are you an atheist? I am not an atheist, the same way that I don't have I guess, a religion that I could really explain. I have my own beliefs, I have my own views, I don't subscribe to really anyone else's worldviews, and whenever I saw this question, I had a really good response thought up for it at the time, but what could I say to really answer this question? I don't have a problem with atheists. I mean, I think everyone is entitled to believe whatever they want to believe, and I think that's the beautiful thing about the universe, okay? It's strange enough that we're here. In my opinion, it's strange enough that there is something instead of nothing. I've wrestled with that question since early middle school, at least, whenever I really started thinking about it. Why is there something instead of nothing? All I can do is explain that I'm here. As far as a god and other religions and different beliefs and things like that, I can't really explain any of it. I think that people are entitled to their own views, and as long as you're not an extremist, militant asshole trying to force your views on everybody else in the world, then hey, you're an alright person by me. But if you're the type of person who walks around condemning people to burn in hell, well then go fuck yourself. Because who are you to condemn somebody to hell? That's an awful rude and mean thing to say, and I have a problem with militant atheists as well, because who are you in this huge, vast universe to tell someone that one of their beliefs is wrong? You can't prove it, the same way you can't prove that there's no God, the same way that you can't prove, what's that saying? You can't prove that there's not a teapot in orbit around the third moon of Saturn or something like that. So don't even try. Just let people believe what they want to believe, and let the asshole militants battle it out amongst each other. I don't really have a place for them, and I try to avoid those type of people as much as possible. So I wish I had a better answer for that. I had a really, really good answer, I thought. Damn it, the first time I heard that, but what I just answered there is going to have to do. I think everyone's entitled to their own beliefs. It's strange enough that we're here, isn't it? So who knows what's possible in the infinite unknown of the universe and the multi-universes and everything else out there. You never know. So, next question is by Mr. Tokyo 34. Are you going to play the original Fallouts? I don't really know. I love the games. They have a very dear place in my heart. But at the same time, it's been so long since I've played through them, I don't know if I'll do an LP of them. One of the reasons I don't want to do an LP of them is because as soon as I start uploading videos of it, I'm going to have about 80% of the comments will be people bitching at me, telling me what I missed and what I did wrong and why they think I made the wrong decision. And it's just one of those games where people have really strong opinions of, and there's so many different things you can do, and there's so many different things that I will overlook that it might not be a whole lot of fun for me to upload. Because again, I get tired of people telling me that I'm playing the games wrong and the things that I'm missing. I don't want your tips and advice unless I ask for it. There are very specific points during games where if I'm getting stuck or if I'm kind of getting frustrated, I'll ask for advice. And then, I don't mind whenever people give me advice that I want. But if I'm just playing the game and having fun, I don't need people bitching at me, making me second guess everything that I'm doing. It kind of ruins the gameplay experience for me. And I don't know if I'll ever get around to playing the original Fallouts because of that. But who knows, again, we'll see. The longer this channel goes on, the more likely I am to play them, but I'm not making any promises. Next question is by Mookie Mogg. Excluding your Space Station 13 videos where pretty much something crazy happens in every video, what has been the best moment for you in any of the other LPs you've done? Your call on how to quantify best, whether that's the most exciting, the most interesting, the most surprising, or whatever. I would say, and again, This is really hard for me to quantify because I can't remember everything that I've done in all of the Let's Plays that I've done. There have been tons, in my opinion, of extremely interesting and exciting moments in my LPs, but this one happened, this was from the Fallout Chronicles, the Dwarf Fortress playlist I did. That whole playlist I just really liked, but whenever I embarked there and there were spiders there, that was an exciting moment because the fortress, I knew at that moment, was going to live up to its name. The fortress turned out to be called Bitten Labor, and there happened to be spiders there, which is why we went there to begin with, to avenge our fallen comrades or something like that. And it all just worked out perfectly. So that was the most exciting moment, because whenever I want to tell a story a certain way and it all comes together, which is a rare thing it seems like, that was just absolutely amazing. That was whenever I got really excited about Let's Playing, because I realized that all these little storytelling, lying things that I'm doing, they have a chance to come together every once in a while, and if you play your cards right, it can be something amazing, or you can just, nothing can happen, which sometimes does happen. So that was probably it for me. Next question is by Maddie4912. Is there any chance that you will play any more LCS or similar roguelikes, and possibly any Dwarf Fortress tutorials? Sorry if that counts as 2 questions. I've already answered this, I think. I will just play whatever games I possibly can. I doubt that I will ever go back to Liberal Crime Squad. I think I've already done enough for that game from what I can offer anyways in my playlist that I did. I ended up having to off-screen a lot of that game because, again, that's one of those games where there is a lot of repetition. And once you get your team established, there's a lot of repetition with absolutely no risk. So I don't think I'll ever be going back to it. As for other roguelikes, I don't know what the future holds, and I will always be going back to Dwarf Fortress, even if I do have to take long breaks from it. As long as Toady and Three Toe continue to update that game, I will continue to go back to it. So, there's your answer for that. Next question is by Mr. MLG Vent. I thought about deleting this question because it had been asked, but then I remembered I'm kind of keeping score here. So, he asks, will you do more Space Station 13 or no? And my answer is, that is another week of no. Next question is by Mr. Small Worlds. Plump, what kind of LPs are you planning to do for the rest of the year? I don't know, whatever I feel like doing. I don't really have very many plans after Final Fantasy IV and Mother 3, so we'll see. M. Vaser asks, how many dogs do you have? I own 1 pet dog, and, oh man, this is bad, but I don't know exactly how many offhand pugs I own. I own 4 Boston Terriers, even though 2 of them don't ever breed, it seems like. So yeah, I own 4 Boston Terriers. I don't know exactly how many pugs, maybe 10 to 14 pugs. I'd have to do a count. I've got a bunch of puppies right now, but I don't count them. And yeah, just 1 pet dog. My little itty-bitty long-haired Chihuahua, which those of you who were lucky enough to catch the video I uploaded actually got to see her in my April Fool's video I uploaded like 2 years ago or a year ago or something like that. Next question is by MaxIV77. I first subscribed to your channel for Space Station 13 videos. The great storytelling, creation, and narration got me hooked. But more than that, the fact that this was the rather free-form online game made it really special. Preface over with, is there any other game even close to it which can match up to your Let's Plays? Single-player games are good and all, but scripted environments can only be expanded on so much. Honestly, I don't know. Space Station 13 is fairly unique in that there is so many ways for the round to turn out, and that all of it depends on the players. So there's not that many games like it. I don't really think there is any other games kind of like it that could even stand up to it. Even in its current form, where I think it's kind of slow and not as interesting as it used to be. And that could just be a problem with me. I might just be growing bored of the game. I don't really know. But I don't think there's any other game that can even come close to it or match up to it. So if I ever find it, I will be sure to make Let's Plays of it, though. Next question is by Mr. Javanos. How did you get started with the idea of storytelling through your playthroughs, rather than the usual just playing of the games like many others? Probably because that's how I play the games, and I just kind of wanted to share what I was already doing in my head with everyone else. So that's just how it happened, I guess. As for what inspired me, I've already mentioned that it was audiobooks and books in general, as well as the old radio plays from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Generally things like that. Also, Mystery Science Theater 3000. I didn't acknowledge that as a reference to begin with, but yeah, that show has a huge impact on me, and sometimes whenever I'm turning into asshole plump while playing a game because I hate the game, or I'm not having as much fun with the game as I wanted, sometimes I will just do my best to start riffing on it, like riff tracks or Mystery Science Theater 3000. So that's, I guess, where the idea came from. It was already in my head, but I was inspired over the course of my life by various other things. Next question is by Mud074. Let's say you have a perfect group of game developers willing to create any type of game you want. What would be your ideal game? Last time somebody asked me this question, I said I wanted a space simulator that would mix X3 TC with Arma, and I still would like to create a game like that. Take Eve, take the multiplayer aspect of Eve, but add in elements from Arma, meaning you can walk around your spaceship in first person. You have to have various people stationed around the spaceship. The larger the ship is, the more people you need. You would need like a navigator and gunners and a pilot and maybe even engineers running around the station fixing hull breaches. Yeah, take Eve, take Space Station 13, take Arma, take I don't know what else I've said, but basically I want a realistic, and I mean super realistic, sci-fi game where you are not you're not the spaceship. You are an individual on a spaceship, and you could be a Marine on a boarding pod being launched and then boarding an enemy spaceship and then fighting your way through it. But I would want combat to be lethal and visceral like Arma is. I don't want power shields where people sit there and get hammered by weapons for, minutes at a time, because defense is always trying to keep up with offense. So offensive weapons should always be extremely powerful, and defensive weapons should simply be something to slow them down just a bit. But I want something quick, visceral, lethal, intense, in your face, and I don't think that'll ever happen, because the processing power required for something like that would just be absolutely enormous. So maybe someday in the far future, but who knows if that'll ever happen. It doesn't even need a story. I mean, storylines have their places and everything, but if you give the player their own tools and say, here's the universe, go for it, they'll create their own story, like on Space Station 13, and I think my viewers can agree that that's probably where most of the fun, or most of the most memorable moments, at least for my videos, have come from. Fun that the players and myself create. So, something like that. Next question is by Mr. Jasker44. Will you replay any games that you've already played? I've mentioned that I would like to, and again, hopefully nobody holds me on this. I might have to take back some of these games that I've said. I would like to go back to Pirates, the one that I played through. Not the Sega Genesis version, and not the original PC version, but Pirates, the newer one that I already played through. I'd like to do at least one more playthrough with that game. I would also like to go back to X3 at some point, Maybe not TC, but Albion, since it's been released. I would like to do those 2 games. But I can't go back to X3 until I upgrade my computer, and that was one of the main reasons that I ended that series to begin with, because the things that I was trying to do, the huge galactic war that I wanted to do, it ended up just being way too much for my system to actually process all of that and record the game at the same time. So that's one of the things I'm probably going to hold off on until I eventually upgrade my computer. And then, who knows, maybe the new X game will be out by then, and I might do a Let's Play of that. But again, I'm not making any promises here. I'm just talking to you guys and throwing out ideas of what's possible. As far as other games to replay, well, this is one thing that I am going to do, and you guys haven't seen this series end yet, but I've already beat Chrono Trigger, and I do plan to replay through it one more time. Spoilers here, a little bit I guess, even though it's probably not much of a spoiler, so plug your ears for a minute or so if you haven't beat the game yet. But there's New Game Plus, where you can restart the game over with all your items, all your skills, all your levels, and I plan to go through the game at least one more time. And as I go through the game, I plan to show off all of the endings as we get to them, because you can beat the game at various points throughout the story, and depending on where you beat the game at will change the ending that you get. And whenever I replay through it, I will be using characters that I didn't use on my official first time Let's Play. I'll be using Dion and Metal Slime Hunt more actively and showing off more of their skills and abilities. But yeah, I do plan to play through that game again because I can get through it much quicker now that my characters are more powerful. It's a pretty short game actually, and I do kind of like that. So, next question is by Mr. Emo Archer. Hello, Plump. I've read through most of the questions and I don't think I've seen this one. Would you mind doing a setup video, please? I assume by setup you mean doing a quick video of what my recording area looks like. I don't know. I might. Someday. Not really something I've ever really thought about, but who knows? Maybe for something like April Fool's, or maybe whenever I build my new computer, or something like that. Maybe I'll upload a setup video then. It's pretty ghetto, though, my setup is. My microphone stand has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Has 4 socks on it in order to dampen vibrations to the microphone. I have a strange setup, and I don't know. Maybe I'll show you guys someday. We'll see. Next question is by Mr. No Zed. May I please know what, in your opinion, was the most immersive game that you have seen played within the last 7 years? I don't know. That's a hard question. Because immersive really depends on the player. Some people find Counter-Strike completely immersive, but it all depends. And as for me, I really don't know. Let's see. Space Station 13 can be really immersive if you want it to. Some of my videos on that have me really immersed in the role. Tales from the Mojave, I got really immersed in Paige's role, trying to play a Lost Brotherhood member. Dwarf Fortress, I can sometimes get really immersed in that. Go watch the Fallout Chronicles playlist. I think I was really immersed then. So I don't know, it really depends. I can't answer that question good. Next question, there's a lot of misters apparently. Next question, they're probably all the same person, just with different accounts. Next question is by Mr. 34. Have you ever considered playing IB? It's a free puzzle game made with RPG Maker 2000 or 2003, I'm not sure which. I've never even heard of it, so no, I've never considered it. Since you've asked, though, I will look into it. I'll just see what it looks like, but I don't enjoy puzzle games, for the most part. I did like Professor Layton on the DS. I thought that was an exceptionally well-done puzzle game, but generally I don't enjoy them. Next question is by M3 Talk ID, or Metal Kid, I guess. Hey Plump, is there any chance we can see a co-op game in the future, like in Dual Commentary? I will say, Since I've answered several co-op questions already, I did record a co-op video with Dingle. I'm not going to tell you guys what the game is just yet, but I will be uploading it sometime this week once I get around to encoding it, and you'll be able to see a co-op game then, between me and Dingle. It's not obviously the same type of commentary I do for you guys, because whenever I'm playing games with a friend, we're playing a competitive game, so there's not that much room for storytelling, but I do try a little bit. Okay, let's see. Last question, and I'll actually do the ends here as well, because there's only 4 names there. Last question is by Murderous Moped. Have you ever been bitten by the travel bug? And if so, where would your travels most likely lead you? I would like to be bitten by the travel bug, but unfortunately it takes a lot of money to travel, and I hear assholes all the time saying, "Oh no, man, just pack a backpack and go. It doesn't take any money at all." And then it's like, yeah, it does. You gotta buy food. You gotta buy gas, unless you're gonna hitchhike, which I don't want to do because I value my life. You also have to have money set aside for your bills back home. So traveling takes a lot of money, and I have never really had the money to just set aside all my responsibilities and go travel. I would like to travel. I'd like to travel across Europe. I'd like to travel to Norway and Sweden. I'd even like to travel through some of Russia and see what their great wild countryside has to offer. Wouldn't mind going to Australia and enjoying some of their beaches, but I'll probably never go to South America or Asia, just not any of the places I'm interested in. And that's probably, well, I'd also like to go to the remote reaches of northern Canada, for some reason. I don't know why. I will say I've been to almost every state to the west of the Mississippi, so I have traveled that, but that was all with family whenever I was younger. So that wasn't me being bitten by a travel bug, that was me being pulled along by family that had been bitten by the travel bug. And we're done with the M's, finally. I told you guys that was going to take a while. Last 4 questions here are from the N's, and the first question comes from Nintendo Addict 4295. When will the next Fall of Atlantis update come out? I will try to put out an update this weekend. I haven't made a whole lot of progress on it because I was still wrestling with scripts for a while, and I've been setting up some outside mapping areas. So I'll show you guys the new mapping areas that I've made, because if you remember the engineering turbine room, whenever you exited through the door there, it took you straight to the world map. Well, I've added some rooms after that, and I've added an exterior shot of the engineering building, and then once you leave that exterior shot, that exterior map of the engineering building, then you go to the world map. So I'm slowly starting to add in more maps and details and things like that. I don't have a whole lot new gameplay to show, but there are some new maps that I'm working on and things like that. Let's see, next question is by Nuked Phone. So, have you thought about playing Project Zomboid? Nope. Has not even crossed my mind once, and it still hasn't. Even if you've asked me, I'm still not thinking about playing it. I don't think I ever will. I have Cataclysm and Rogue Survivor if I want to play zombie games, and most importantly, those 2 games are free, and I have donated to the authors of those games, because generally that's how I operate on roguelikes. I don't pay for a roguelike, or even a free indie, or even an indie game generally. I'll play the free game, and if it's good, I'll tend to donate towards the developer, but there's so many indie games out there that want you to pay for them and buy them first, that I generally don't do it, for one reason or another, especially whenever the game isn't finished, or even close to being finished, and they don't put out very frequent updates. It's just not it doesn't earn my trust, so we'll see. I'll probably never let's play it though. Next question is by Ninja Hooden Skills. I would like to know if you ever went to a university trade school, and if so, what for? I already answered this. I wasted a lot of money and some time going to the University of Phoenix. I was going for a business degree. Unfortunately, it was a complete waste of time, and I decided to get out before I sunk even more money into that worthless school. I'm still paying off that student loan debt, and I probably will be for the next several years. So no, I haven't went to any university or trade school after that, and I would like to eventually, if I ever get the money for it, but like I mentioned, if you do not get financial aid while you're in high school, you're pretty much fucked. If any of my viewers are in high school or middle school, which I assume a lot of you are, if you plan to go to college, and I can't make that decision for you, do your best to get financial aid while you can. Because once you graduate, there ain't nobody gonna start throwing money at you. So get the money while you can, and try to shore up as many scholarships as you can. Even if it seems boring trying to get them, do it. You'll be thankful later on whenever you're not having to pay for tuition and things like that out of your own pocket. Next and last question is by Newbie of Doom. Plump, have you ever thought about making your own website, or have help from a subscriber to make one? A website geared towards using games to tell stories, perhaps, that viewers could contribute to, or maybe something completely different. I have thought about making my own website, but thankfully the Voltron army came back online, and that means my blog came back, so now I don't have to. As for getting my subscribers to make one, I don't know who I could trust to make a website. I really hate putting any effort into anything if it means that it's out of my hands, and if I wasn't running and maintaining the website on my own, with my own knowledge and my own tools, then there's a good chance that it would eventually just be abandoned by the other person because they don't have the same investment as I do in it. So I've thought about it, but I don't have the talent or the time or the money for it. So I'm just glad that Jeff and Hexcrack have set up the Voltron army, and more importantly that they spoiled me by giving me a blog for some reason. I still don't know why I got lucky enough to get one in the beginning, but thankfully I did. And even though I don't use it that much, it does have valuable information there, in my opinion. I suggest all of my viewers go check it out and see what you can find there. I have pictures hidden there. I have links to some of my guitar playing on there. I might even hide Easter eggs around there, like maybe some of my poetry that I have warned you guys about is extremely cheesy. I might hide that around there sometime. I have my mod list for Ruins of DC, I believe, on there, as well as Tales from the Mojave, and any future mod lists that I put together will be on there. So, no, I've got the only website I need for now, and if it ever goes down, or if something ever happens, I may look into setting something else up, but for the time being, I'm happy where I'm at. And, that's all of the questions for today. Thankfully, we're finally getting to the end here. It looks like the T's are going to get their own videos, and then we will be extremely close to being done. So, I will see you guys tomorrow, or I will try to answer as many questions as I can, with the best damn answers I can possibly give you guys.